What is up, Lions fans? It's your boy Motor City Don P. We're back here once again, and you already know what it is. It is another. No, I'm sorry. It's not a Victory Monday. It's not a Victory Monday, but it is what it is. We are here for LNU, and you know one thing's for sure, certain, and three things for sure. When you see me in front of your TV, number one, it's the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats, not none of that static. Number three, perhaps the most important number of them all, number three. We want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic and you may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P, does one keep their Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's a very simple process, and I will tell you. I'm glad you asked. Smash like button, subscribe, share. And once you've done those things, you've kept your Lions news pragmatic, and in whatever order you've done them in, you've done them. And remember that sharing is indeed caring, so make sure you've shared this with your mothers, your brothers, your cousins, your sisters, your uncles, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your mothers, your sisters, your brothers, your cousins, your uncles, your sisters. You name it. You name it. And once you have shared, then you have indeed cared about those people. We got some things to talk about today. And one thing that we all expected to talk about today, I think we all expected it if we were being realistic with ourselves, was that the Detroit Lions, Brian Branch has been suspended. All right, so let's get to, there's some comments in the chat. Okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about everything that everybody's saying. So what up though, everybody in the chat? What up though, Frank the Tank? What up though, Mr. Route 313? What up though, Kane Press? What up though, those people who are looking but not chatting? What up though to everybody? Anyway, Brian Branch has been suspended. It will be for one game. He looks like he's going to miss the Bucks game, but he is going to be appealing the suspension. So I don't know. I'm guessing it's going to be an expedited review. I don't know that they would overturn this for any reason. I think the only reason that you appeal it is because you want to play this game. You may look at the Jameson Williams situation where he was appealing fines and still playing games. However, I don't think that is anything goes into this. I think it can be solved in a couple minutes. When you look at the footage again, you're like, all right, let's look over this tape 10 more times. And then you go, yeah, well, no, you got suspended because you did what it shows that you did on this camera. You've admitted to doing it. You said you shouldn't have done it. You said it was childish and so on and so forth. So I don't think there's any way that this suspension gets overturned. And I really don't think that there's any way that when you appeal, it goes long enough for you to miss or for you to be able to play this upcoming game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, here's some things that we can talk about when we say, should he have been suspended? Should he not have been suspended? There's, I think most Lions fans would agree that what he did was going to come with some sort of repercussions. What he did was going to come with a suspension. He knows he shouldn't have done it. He knows it was stupid. He knows it was childish. I know I understand the reason. Okay, I understand the reason that he did it, and I saw the video of the reason that he did it. I saw all of that. All right, here's Juju Smith-Schuster on the Brian Branch situation.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player, right? I mean, he's huge for the team. I think after the game, I expect him to shake his hand and say good game and, who passed away. But he threw a punch. And, at the end of the day, it's about, it's a team sport, right? So it's about, we came out here, we did our job, we won. And that's all that matters. They're a great team over there on both sides of the ball. So at the end of the day, it's all about, getting the.
Was there anything that led up to that? Any talk during the game or anything that happened after the game?
I mean, me just blocking him. I mean, I'm just doing my job. I played between the whistles, and after the game, he took advantage of what he did.
You could tell he was frustrated when you were blocking him during the game.
He was frustrated, for sure frustrated. Yeah, I mean,
all right, so I'm not gonna be too upset about it. I mean, he goes, "Oh, I'm just blocking him and just doing my job." Well, you weren't just doing your job because you were blocking him in the back. And I posted it, I reposted it on my Twitter. If anyone hasn't seen the block in the back, it was a blatant block in the black and in the back, and this is what Brian Branch was reacting to, and he said that the refs see stuff right in front of them that happens to him and people try to bully him and he's not going to take it, and then he kind of reverted back to saying, well, it was stupid, it was childish, and I shouldn't have done it. And that's the action that you go with in the beginning. I shouldn't have done this, because while you did get your lick back, and while you did drag Juju Smith-Schuster, and while you did cause a bloody nose, and while all these other things did happen, you can say that you won the fight. That's awesome. Fantastic. You're not playing versus the Bucks. A Bucks team who is not going to be a pushover. A Bucks team who has the leader in the clubhouse for the MVP. Right now, you can talk about Baker Mayfield all you want. You can say what you want to say about Baker Mayfield. You can be stuck in the past about Baker Mayfield. I am not going to be one of those people. I recognize, as they say, game recognize game. I suppose you do. It's the new Two Live crew. I suppose you knew. Thugs don't approach us or bullets to chase you like Moet Mimosas. Hashtag if you know, use the hashtag. Anyway, game recognize game. I recognize the game of Baker Mayfield. It is a very solid game. It is a phenomenal game. He's playing very, very high level quarterback right now. On 3rd and 14, Baker Mayfield scrambled for 15 yards. Scrambled. I don't care. He scrambled for 15 yards. Last year, it pissed me off when you were at Ford Field. You came into our trap, you took over our trap, and you had about 45 yards rushing, but because we kept not maintaining rush lane integrity, and we kept leaving the middle of the field wide open for you to scoop for 10 yards, for you to scoop for 15 yards, for you to scoop for 5, for you to scoop for 8, for you to scoop for 7, and so on and so forth, and gouge us up the middle of our defense, in the middle of our defensive line. That's what Baker Mayfield did to us last year when it came to Ford Field. And guess what? He's going to do it again this year if we do not maintain gap integrity. So this is the guy who's coming back to your house, Brian Branch, that you've made yourself now unavailable for that contest. So I hope you are glad about all of the things that happened that you did to Juju Smith-Schuster, and that you could brag about, and you could talk about how, that was fantastic and such and such, man. I really won the fight, bro. I bloodied that dude's nose up. You see how I ragdolled him. All that's cool. All of that's cool. But you did it after the game. Now, here is my assertion. If he did it between the lines, if he did it between the whistles, he still may have been suspended. Why do you guys think I say that? And if you can answer that question, then you can answer about why I feel the way I feel. All right, let's get to some comments, because I know this is a hot topic. Mr. Alex Knight says Juju should have been fined or suspended as well. I mean, I don't care if he gets fined. He wasn't going to get suspended. So a player's pockets don't mean anything to me. I don't care if you fine him. I don't care if it is what it is. If he's not being suspended, he's not being suspended, and Juju is not really that important. So it doesn't matter. I think Juju caught one pass against us. So he doesn't matter. Paul Thomas says that was not football last night. That is correct. Taking away touchdowns, fake holding calls, benefiting Chiefs on 3rd down. Once again, never seen anything like this. We'll get into all of that. We will get into all of that. What up, though, Duncan Stewart? Clipping penalty. Bucks are definitely better than the Chiefs. But the referees versus Bucks should actually not have an agenda like last night. The referees will not have an agenda. I don't think that did anything. Goff being a statue didn't do anything to lose us the game. If he wants to run on these guys, well, slide, bro, slide QB. All right. Hit the like button for the big fella. Appreciate you, Paul Thomas. Yes, hello. Yes. All right. So, as I said, Tampa Bay without or with Brian Branch wasn't going to be an easy game. Tampa Bay without Brian Branch is going to be an even more difficult game. The only solace that we have is that everybody's hurt on Tampa Bay. All of their offensive weapons are hurt. They are down to, I forget the dude's name. He is an undrafted free agent who claims to be Bo Nix's brother. I guess it was like the Nix family was like his adoptive family or something like this. He's very thin, very skinny. I can't remember his name. It's like on the tip of my tongue, but I did see his like draft story and all that other stuff. And it's cool for the kid to be in the NFL and to be playing meaningful snaps. But he's not going to be the guy that you worry about. Emeka Egbuka, from the initial report that I heard, probably will be playing. I mean, there was right before our game kicked off, there was a report that Mike Florio of Sunday Night Football and of Pro Football Talk said pending an MIR, it doesn't seem like it was anything serious. So he's probably going to play next week. If he doesn't, on Monday Night Football against the when we play against the Bucks and they come into Ford Field, that would be great if he didn't play, because we are still missing Terrion Arnold and DJ Reed, and most likely will be missing them both until after the bye. I don't foresee Terrion Arnold coming back for this game, but if he did, that would be great, because we needed help on defense last night. All hands on deck, because we got absolutely bullied and pushed around. As I said, the defense stayed in the locker room at halftime. All right. So I guess everyone is in agreement with the Brian Branch situation. Nobody is going to defend what he did. I'm surely not going to defend what he did. Brian Branch has been the leader in the clubhouse for these dumbass penalties that happen that wipe away good plays on defense. Last night, the leader in the clubhouse that turned this game around for the worse, agree or disagree, but I felt the momentum shift after this happened. Aiden Hutchinson roughing Patrick Mahomes. Whether you think it was a roughing the penalty passer or roughing the passer penalty, whether you think it should have been called, whether you think it was egregious or whatever, and the refs had it out for you, don't give them the opportunity, Aiden Hutchinson, to call it by you taking 2.5, 3 steps and then hitting Patrick Mahomes. They said it on the broadcast. If he had just taken 1 step, then it wouldn't have been no thing. If he took 1 step, then you could have said, okay, that is within the rules. And if they call it, that's crazy. However, he took 3 steps, and you can't do that. If you take 2, they'll debate. And if you take 2 against Patrick Mahomes, it's probably going to get called. It probably will. But since you took 3 or 2.5, you forced their hand. When he did that, it was 3rd and 8. We had just scored. It was 3rd and 8. The first 2 plays amounted to basically nothing. There was a power dive, whatever you want to call it, handoff to Isaiah Pacheco on 1st down where he gained 2 yards. Then we put pressure on Patrick Mahomes the very next play, and he just had to basically throw it up, throw it away. So now it's down to 3rd and 8. Now it's supposed to be down to 3rd and 8. But in doing that and putting all that pressure on him, Aiden Hutchinson doesn't stop himself, doesn't lay off, and then we get a penalty. And then instead of that impending 3rd and 8, it is now 1st and 10, and the Chiefs never looked back. I said, because I do the NFC North report every week. I do it for the Lions. I do it for the Bears. I do it for the Packers, and I do it for the Vikings. Why? Because I want you guys to be united in understanding what we're dealing with, what we're looking at as far as our divisional opponents. What do the Packers look like this week? What do the Bears look like this week? What do the Minnesota Vikings look like this week? Right? So you can get a week-to-week update on what they actually look like and what the Lions are needing to face and having to face when we go against that team and they say Lions, or I'm sorry, and they say Bears on the front of their jersey, or they say Vikings on the front of their jersey, or it says Packers on the front. Does it say Packers anywhere? I don't know. But in the NFC North report that I did for the Detroit Lions, I said we need to clean up the penalties. I said because the penalties that we do, these dumb penalties, where every week, every game, we seem to get a big defensive play called back because of a penalty, whether it is a turnover that we force, and it's usually forced turnovers, right? Hutch himself wiped two of his 2 sacks off the board. Okay, last week he wiped one off the board because he lined up offsides, and then someone else committed a penalty that wiped the sack off the board. Actually, a strip sack safety got wiped off the board because Terrion Arnold was holding. So because these things occurred, I told you guys last week, and when I did the NFC North report, we have a problem with penalties. And I said that they would come back to bite us in the ass at the most inopportune time. Well, I guess this time was inopportune because that Aiden Hutchinson penalty changed the entire complexion of the second half. We had a little bit of defensive momentum to having zero momentum after that, and having the defense go sit down, take the seat in the locker room, and wait for the bus to leave so that they can get on the plane and go home. Now, I know some Lions fans, they don't like to hear these things, and, oh, you hating on Aiden. I'm not hating on Aiden at all. Aiden Hutchinson is a phenomenal player. My son's name is Aiden. I didn't name him after Aiden Hutchinson. My son's 14. But Aiden Hutchinson did a stupid thing. I love Brian Branch. Brian Branch is awesome as a football player, but Brian Branch did a stupid thing. 2 things can be true. Both of these things can be true. You can be a big fan of a player and also say that player did something stupid. You can be a big fan of a player and also say, oh, that player dropped a football on 4th and 5 when we had to have it. You can have someone who's your favorite player who can miss out on an interception right before the end of the Super Bowl, and the defender and then the offensive player gets behind him and he wins the game on a walk-off. You could love that player, but hate the fact that they took that gamble in the Super Bowl at that moment in time. But the reason they call it a gamble is because of the 50-50 chance. So if he had done it and then they went on to win, that would be a completely different story. That would be a completely different story. Right? And if we go to the Super Bowl, I don't think anybody's gonna miss it for any reason. I definitely wouldn't. But that is the point. Both things can be true. It's not just a one size fits all. Both things can be true. All right, let me get to some more comments. Let's see what we got going on here. I'm with Branch all day. You can be with Branch, but what Branch did was dumb. It hurt his team. I'm just saying. No one is, you got to defend yourself and all these other things, but you also need to think of the team more so than anything. I'm interested to see what you guys would have said if it was if this was Jared Goff doing what Brian Branch did, and then he left you to face the Bills, to face the Bucks with Kyle Allen. What would you guys say at that point in time? That's my point. Not pissed that we lost. It was a good team on the road. Love that the refs let both teams play. The refs did not let both teams play. They let the Kansas City Chiefs play. They didn't let the Lions play. But they had to call field penalties on the Chiefs. I am pissed about that. They called 0 penalties on the Chiefs. And I got some numbers about that we'll talk about in a bit. That was a foul. Yes, it was. Brad shouldn't have got suspended. Yes, he should have, because he did that. He's also a repeat offender. That's why I was saying, even if he did retaliate with a 15-yard penalty that got him ejected from the game, even if he did do that, he may have gotten suspended anyway, because he's a repeat offender. He's been repeatedly fined. The fine system is for, I'm going to tell you what the fine system is for. I have a brother, my oldest brother. My oldest brother used to get his ass beat every day by my father because he was so dumb when it came to getting in trouble for the same thing. Okay? The fine system, much like the butt whooping system, much like the punishment system at home, is you are supposed to get it. You are supposed to learn. You're supposed to not only stop doing the same things, but stop doing things that are going to get you in trouble and wind you up with a belt to ass. You see what I did there? The fine system is supposed to be for you to stop getting in trouble doing the same stuff so that you don't have to get suspended. Eventually, you will get suspended if you continue to do the same thing. Do you guys remember a person named, and I'm blanking on his last name, Kareem, played for the Broncos. What is his last name? He's a safety. Kareem. Okay. Anyway, if you know his name in the chat, and this is crazy for me not to remember somebody's name, because I always remember the names. When I be in the chat and on the heavyweights, Woodward heavyweights, I tell Easy all the time, hey, if you need to remember a name, just look for me in the chat, because I know everybody's name. And now I can't remember his name. What's his name? Kareem. It's not Hunt, obviously. Is it Jackson? Is it Kareem Jackson? We'll call him Kareem Jackson for now. All right. Do y'all remember Kareem Jackson? A serial headhunter. He kept getting fined. He kept getting fined for hitting dudes in the helmet. And guess what happens? He got suspended. He came back. He hit somebody in the helmet again, and he got suspended again. The NFL will suspend you when you are a habitual line stepper, when you are a repeat offender, when you continue to get unsportsmanlike penalties after unsportsmanlike penalties after unsportsmanlike penalties, they will eventually suspend you. What Brian Branch did after the game is not a part of football. Dan Campbell was pissed about it. Dan Campbell told you we're not going to accept that. That's not what we do here. Dan Campbell, was embarrassed because he had to go and apologize to the Chiefs, to Andy Reid, to Juju Smith-Schuster. Dan Campbell had to do all of that. Dan Campbell's not not the person that needs to be doing that. So you put Dan Campbell in a situation where he would be embarrassed. You feel me? This is how this works. So when you do stuff like that, you get suspended. If he didn't get suspended by the league, Dan Campbell said, hold on, I don't know if you've heard it. So let's just rewind and see what Dan Campbell said about it. Okay? Let me see if I can find his little clip here. I mean, if I look back through my history, I can find it. I don't want to look through the history, but let me see here. All right, let's see. All right, here's what Brian Branch had to say about it himself.
In between the play, and refs don't catch it. Like, they trying to bully me out there. I don't shouldn't have did it. Those charges.
How do you process the way it went down for you guys tonight? Just having winning streaks now, coming in here against some tough opponent.
We beat ourselves, honestly.
What happened between the play? What are you referring to?
I got blocked in the back illegally, and they was running the ref. The ref didn't do anything, and just stuff like that. And I could have got hurt off of that, but it's still I still shouldn't have done that. So
That was at the end of the game. Talking about somebody hit you in the back. Did you hit you in the back? So
Okay, so he continues to say that he shouldn't have done it. He continues to take accountability for it. He continues to say, whatever happened, I got blocked in the back illegally. The ref didn't do nothing about it. It was right in front of the ref. I could have got hurt on that play. But he continues to say that he shouldn't have done it. Okay? Let me see. For whatever reason, it was like all over my feed. Okay, here's Dan Campbell on Brian Branch.
Start with this. I love Brian Branch, but what he did is inexcusable, and it's not going to be accepted here. It's not what we do. It's not what we're about. I apologize to Coach Reid and the Chiefs and and Schuster. That's not okay. We that's not what we do here, and it's not going to be okay. He knows it. Our team knows it, and so that's not what we do. Start with this.
All right. So when he was saying that, I'm like, damn, are they going to cut him? Now, I since, realized, no, that wasn't the initial reaction. I don't think they're going to trade him, but there was going to be some team discipline. I mean, he may have, even without being suspended for the Bucs game, he may have been looking to sit out this game based on what Dan Campbell said. He said it's not going to be okay. He knows it's not going to be okay. That's not what we do here. So if you didn't think that Brian Branch should have been suspended, that's fine. He was going to be suspended anyway. He was going to be suspended by the team. We're going to talk about the Chiefs and the no penalties and all that stuff. The Vikings are not coming up. The Bucs are coming up. The Vikings are after the bye. Branch started a fight after the game. That is 100% a suspension and a fine, whether you agree with it or not, unless you are a Chief player. Facts. What up, though, Tactical Sport? Dude, I love Branch. He's awesome, but he was a dumbass at the end of the game. Facts. Both things can be true. Will Murray, what up, though? I'm sick about how this game went. The Lions looked lost at times when the camera was showing their faces on the sideline. It was like they already knew they were getting hosed. Facts. All right, JMO 2 TDs loading this week against Tampa. I would live in Florida, so I know. Okay, we'll see. No, it wasn't Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It was Kareem Jackson. What up, though, Detroit fans? Kareem Jack, there you go. Tactical sport. Coach need to back his players. No, what are you talking about? You don't back a player that does something like that. I think how the interview actually went was, "Hey, Coach Dan, what are your thoughts about using David Montgomery ever?" Dan's response, "No, that's not what we do here." We'll talk about some of that as well. Use Monty and Ekiem. Both Dan and Brad can shut the hell up until then. All right. So we got to the Brian Branch situation. I don't think it's mixed. I think, if you're gonna be emotional about, that's cool, and I understand that we're fans, and that's why fans are called fanatics. But if we look at the big picture, this is not something that happens on a football field. This is not something that happens after football games. Okay, how many fights happen after football games in the NFL? Not too many. Lions would be stupid to cut Branch. Yeah, I said that was my initial reaction of when he was talking the way he was talking, but I settled on he was probably going to get fined and suspended by the team if the NFL didn't suspend him, which they were going to do. They absolutely were going to do because he's a repeat offender. When you're a repeat offender, you have a reputation, and your reputation precedes you. So when you're doing things, they don't give you the benefit of the doubt. Brian Branch has to clean up the penalties. I mean, look at the Tucker Kraft thing. Everybody might have thought, oh, that was cool. Yeah, but you know what? It hurt the team. If he would have just dropped the helmet where it was, he wouldn't have got a flag. But he rolled it down the field like it was a bowling ball. He got flagged for that. They were blocking. They were engaged in a block. It wasn't an intentional. He didn't rip off his helmet, which is why he didn't get flagged for that. He got flagged after getting emotional, caught up in the moment, and throwing the helmet. He could have gave it back to him. He could have been like, "Hey, you forgot this." He wouldn't have got flagged. So we got to make better decisions, bro. As I said, all the penalties that we have lead to things that are bad for us. They lead to sacks. Aiden Hutchinson has 6 sacks. He has 9 sacks on the season. 3 of them have been nullified. A third of Aiden Hutchinson's sacks have been nullified by penalties. One of them was his own. We can't continue to shoot ourselves in the foot. The reason that Dallas did not beat the Packers, the reason that the Packers are not 2-2 or 2 and what would they be right now? What are they now? 3? Are they 3-1-1? Yeah, because they had their bye already. Okay. So they've only played 5 games. So they're 3-1-1. The reason that they are not 3-2 right now is because the Dallas Cowboys gave them overtime. Because the Dallas Cowboys kept doing stupid stuff after the whistle. During the play, they kept committing penalty after penalty after penalty, which is the only reason that the Green Bay Packers and them tied. That is the only reason that they didn't beat the Green Bay Packers. Because they played well enough to beat the Green Bay Packers, but a tie was because they couldn't control their emotions and they were undisciplined and they kept doing dumb stuff. If we want to avoid those types of things, then we need to clean up these penalties. Aiden Hutchinson, love you. Stupid penalty. Brian Branch, love you. Stupid penalty. Stop doing it. You can't do it. We can't have it. The same thing that I'm talking the same way Coach Campbell talked, right? Coach Campbell said, love BB, but we're not finna do that here. That's not what we do. It's not acceptable. It will not be acceptable, and we will not accept it. You can love a person and still discipline them. It's called parenting. right? We love our kids, but we beat their ass if they step out of line. Because discipline is important. Respect is important. You have to respect the game of football, and you have to respect your teammates. And Brian Branch didn't do either of those things last night. He didn't respect the game of football. He didn't respect his teammates. He went out there with a personal vendetta. What did he say? They be trying to bully me. He didn't say us. He didn't say they're not gonna. Hey, they be trying to bully the Detroit Lions, and I'm not gonna stand for them bullying us. He said me. He made it a me thing, and that's why he hurt the team. And that's why he's not going to be playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers unless they take this review really slowly. Brad and Dan beat themselves by not playing their guys and playing their game. I don't think that had anything to do with Brad. Brad has nothing to do with the in-game decisions. Now that I would agree with. Okay. So, guys, if you were one of those fans that saw the Za'Darius Smith retirement situation and felt that Brad Holmes predicted this and we dodged the bullet, like I saw an article written saying that Brad Holmes dodged the bullet. I just want to ask you guys a very quick question. Did Za'Darius Smith lobby for the entire offseason to return to the Philadelphia Eagles? No? Okay. When did he take the Philadelphia Eagles contract? When he felt slighted by what Dan said in the media about we good. Has Za'Darius Smith lobbied to return or not even been cut and released by the Detroit Lions in the first place? I do not think that Za'Darius Smith retires. Za'Darius Smith wanted to be in Detroit. His heart was in Detroit. His girl is in Detroit. I believe he wanted to retire a Detroit Lion. I don't think he wanted to go anywhere else, which is why he retired in Philly after week 5 or week 6, sorry. Okay, so if you're one of those people that says, oh, Brad Holmes and Brad we trust, and he did what he did, and he didn't avoid anything. He didn't predict anything. That man doesn't retire if he's a Detroit Lion. And that's pretty much facts. Okay, you don't beg to return to the team and then retire. I don't think that's what happens. He wanted to go. He wanted to compete for a Super Bowl. And now he's with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he sees the inside turmoil between A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts, and he sees all that going on. He saw Saquon Barkley rush for 2 yards per carry versus the Giants. And he said, bro, these dudes ain't winning no Super Bowl. I'm out. So he retired. And I don't know what the rules are on a 1-year contract. If the Eagles still have the rights, because you want to unretire after a few weeks and come back to the Detroit Lions. Would y'all not welcome if it wasn't like, oh, well, we just void your contract. We only had you for 1 year anyway, and you're a vested veteran. So maybe he's back on the open market if he decides to unretire. I'm pretty sure he didn't submit his papers. So I don't know. We'll see if the Eagles straight up release him or if they put him on the reserve retired list. But if they straight up release him, I think he can come back to any team that he wants. He becomes a free agent again. If they put him on the reserve retired list, then I think they still control his rights. I believe that's how it goes. They finally put AQM in at the end of the game, and well, don't you look at that, a sack. He was in before that, though. He just didn't do anything. He was in before that. I commented on it. I commented on the fact that earlier in the third quarter, he was on the same side as Hutch. He was playing the inside, and Hutch was playing on the outside. 3-1-1 the Packers, yeah. Even if Branch or Kirby hit hard, they still get penalties. No. Come on now. Branch gets penalties for hitting people in the head. He doesn't get penalties for hitting them hard. To be honest, he was the only one in the backfield doing things. They was already hurting Robinson, LMAO. All right. Do we feel better about not signing Big Z now that he is retired? No. Nope. I just answered that. GB Fast talking ish. They're still second in the NFC North, so they can talk all they want. We're 4-2, they're 3-1-1. So the way that works, they don't have as many wins as we do. So by default, they are not leading in the division. Jalen Carter probably spit in his face or something, and Z said, "I'm out." I take Z back. Right. AQM didn't do ish. We need help. Facts. All right. Now, for the narrative about the Chiefs and the refs, I'm gonna read you something because I got some numbers here. All right, so here are the numbers. Since 2000, there have been 12 games where a team had 0 penalties. Okay, now to be fair, the Chiefs did have 1 penalty, which was a false start, and it looked like it was an offsides, and it looked like Jared Goff didn't realize that he had a free play. But they did have 1 penalty, which was that offsides. Jared Goff had a free play. The penalty was not accepted. Okay? So had 0 penalties. In the last 7 seasons, KC has 4 of those. Sports Illustrated ran a review of last night's game and found 12-17 no calls against KC. Did the refs beat the Detroit Lions? Did the refs and the Chiefs beat the Detroit Lions? The fact is this. Before this game, the Detroit Lions averaged 35 points per game offensively. They scored 17. Dan Campbell issued a challenge to the offense this week and said the offense was going to have to carry the load. They were going to have to score 30 points to win the game. We were 13 off that mark. Whereas the Kansas City Chiefs scored 30 points, we scored 17. 17 points doesn't get you a win versus the Kansas City Chiefs. 17 points doesn't get you a win against a lot of teams. The refs calling back the Jared Goff situation, the Jared Goff touchdown, took away 4 points. If you take back those 4 points, instead of it being 17, we now have 21. Johnny Morton with the 2 back-to-back lateral screens, trying to stretch the defense first to the left, and then he tries to stretch the defense to the right, and he wastes the possession in the third quarter where we couldn't afford a possession to be wasted. What possession was that, you ask? Oh, that was our first possession of the second half. Okay? Or sorry, it was our second possession of the second half. Because the first possession, I think we went down and scored just like the Chiefs did. So in a game which was a 1-score game, we went down, we went into half down 14-10 or 13-10. Sorry. So that was 3 points. Did the refs put together an inept drive to end the half for the Detroit Lions? Did the refs call those dumbass screens which tanked that possession? Did the refs leave our defense in the halftime locker room after halftime? No, they did not. Okay. Now, it says that there were 12 to 17 missed calls after SI did their review. Well, that's a large discrepancy. 12 to 17 is a big number. Okay. Maybe it's closer if they call all of those, but they're not going to call all of those. So if it's 12, let's say they're going to call 50% of the penalties that are there, because as a human, you just can't see everything. And I will say one thing that didn't make any damn sense. So don't think I'm defending anything. The refs played a part in this situation, but the Lions also didn't play well enough to win. Okay? The refs played a part in this situation. The Lions did not play well enough to win. And I said before that we need to be over that. We need to be past talking about the refs. We need to play well enough to win. The refs didn't stop us from putting up 30 points. We stopped ourselves from putting up 30 points. The refs stopped us from putting up 4. Where were the other 9 coming from? That's my question. The refs stopped us from putting up 4 points. Where were the other 9 points coming from? Did that look like an offense to you last night that could score 35 points in a game? Did it look that way? Were you watching that game and did it pass your eye test? Oh, this offense looks like they can score 30 tonight. Because I didn't see that. I really didn't. As far as the defense, were the referees blowing the coverages? Were the referees the reason that Hollywood Brown was just running all by his lonesome along the goal line, just waiting for Patrick Mahomes to hit him wide open without a defender within 10 yards of him? Was that the refs? So I understand, it's very frustrating. Now, here's the thing where I felt like the fix was in. When Dan Campbell said it came down from New York, when did New York get the ability to review penalties? Because if that's the case, last week versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, when the Kansas City Chiefs tackled the wide receiver right before an interception occurred, and they kept replaying it like it was this great pick, and it clearly showed the penalty every single time. Why did New York not review that? Why did New York not step in and say, hey, make your guys huddle up and call a conference so that we can throw a yellow flag here? That's the fishy part. When they invent new ways, and whatever the rule was the rule, whatever, that's great, that's awesome. Whatever you say he had to establish, or he didn't establish himself as a quarterback, or he had to establish himself as a quarterback. If you establish yourself as a quarterback by going under center, then you have to set yourself in motion. But apparently, if you don't do any of that, then you don't have to, whatever the case may be. That's fine. That's great. 100%. But the fact that you are now reviewing penalties from New York and telling people to throw flags is wild to me, because they've never done that before. They haven't done it. And I don't know what's the future of the league now. Can we expect the NFL from New York to call into games and say, y'all need to take another look at that? Is that what we can expect? Because I don't know. I don't. I would hope so. I would hope so, especially some of these egregious penalties that the referees just, like I said, we were victimized by that same non-pass interference call last year versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sam Laporta was wide open, and then out of nowhere, someone comes and cleans Sam Laporta's clock before the ball is anywhere near there. Okay? And because he cleaned his clock, as Jared Goff threw it, he threw it right to the defender because that's where Sam Laporta would have been. So what happened to the conference then? That's my question. What happened to the conference then? All right. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Brock Wright, please. Dude is trash. I've been screaming it from on top of the mountain. I think Brock Wright is just primarily a blocker. Snap differential between Monty and Brock Wright is comical. Well, Brock Wright is the second tight end, and they run a lot of 2 tight end sets. They don't run a lot of 2 back sets with Monty and Gibbs. When your 2 young guards can't stop a nosebleed, why don't you put in Monty to at least effing block if you don't want to hand him the ball? I don't know. You got to ask Johnny Morton about this. The momentum did shift after Saints drop. And again, that's another thing. We beat ourselves. Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't drop passes. He's got like the best hand since D-Hop. You know what I mean? Chris Jones was offsides. Yes, he was. And it was a free play, and we also didn't take advantage of the free play. If you got a free play, why not wind it up and throw it and uncork that thing and throw it to J-Mo? Just saying, it's a free play. Whatever happens, happens. Only good can come out of that. That opening drive was unstoppable, Don. That drive being turned into 3 points took the wind out of our sails. But they got to get it back. It was the opening drive. And then the second drive, I don't believe that. The second drive, they marched right back down there and scored a touchdown with J-Mo. So what happened? We scored 10 points in the first quarter. What happened for the rest of the game that we only scored 7? That's my point. We only scored 7 points for the rest of the game. It was 10 to 6 in the first quarter. Why is that? Or it was at the very tail end of the very beginning of the second quarter when we scored 7. So either by after we scored 10 points, we only got 7 more, and we scored 10 points at the beginning of the game. Within the first frame or very early on into the second frame. Momentum is huge in sports, and they stopped our momentum every time. I mean, I get you, but we also didn't play well. Yep, and I told y'all that. I told y'all after watching. See, y'all got to pay attention to what I say. Okay? Y'all got to pay attention to what I say. After that pass interference, I told y'all that this week we were going to have to play the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Zebras. I told y'all this. Y'all got to listen to what I say. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't be bullshitting. That call came in from Vegas, not New York. Did y'all hear about the guy that bet Goff for first touchdown, and it would have paid him out $450,000? Oh my goodness. It was plus 9,000. So what did he bet? $50 or something like that? It would have paid him out $450,000, but they called back. They overturned the touchdown. So I can understand how that did come in from Vegas. Facts. Bills getting smacked by Atlanta. I do have this game. I don't know why I didn't turn it on. Obviously, because let's see. Bills, Falcons. Bijan's going off. See, that's what I was talking about yesterday, right? Do y'all remember what I was talking about when I was talking about, Bijan is supposed to be their feature back, and they get him the ball like he's a feature back, and they get him the ball in situations. Damn, it's 21-7. How long? Damn, okay. I missed the whole first quarter. Okay, so now this should give you guys some hope for next week, because the Bills are going into a Falcons house. The Falcons have not been a very good team this season. And the Bills just went, I'm guessing, 3-and-out again. So now the Falcons have an opportunity to go up 28-7 before the half. You understand what I'm saying? So at least it should give you some hope that the Detroit Lions will bounce back. Mahomes is the only QB who can score a touchdown. It's in the NFL illegal rulebook. Well, I think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are on hold on line one, and they would like to speak to you and your NFL illegal rulebook. Yes, he does. But you know what? He also, while he does break a lot of tackles, I noticed that he does have a lot of space. And this is what I was saying yesterday, that we need to get our guy, Jahmyr Gibbs, or the electrician, or Sonic, whatever you want to call him. We need to get him in space. Yes, we did beat KC and KC before, but it didn't matter last night. Yeah, but I don't really care too much about the Cowboys. They're not in my division. They're not a threat in the NFC conference. So, that's, yeah. Anyway, let's get it, guys. Mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they reading you? Mailbag. Next, mailbag. Get your mailbags questions in. Get them in. Bask in it. All right, get your mailbag questions in, man. So I can answer those. Listen, my final analysis of the game is that the Detroit Lions did not play well enough to win. They also did not play well enough to defeat two teams. I told you that they would have to do that. They didn't do that. They did not. Every time it was third down, I told y'all it was going to be first down. They punted twice, maybe, for the entire game. Every time it was third down, it was about to be first down. And I think they went for it twice on fourth down and got it versus the Detroit Lions. So it was what it was, and we just wasn't going to win it. That's all that it was. No mailbag questions? All right. If you have not yet subscribed to the Motor City Cats podcast on YouTube, make sure that you smash the link that I'm putting into the chat right now. Okay? Go ahead on over there and hit the subscribe button for you, boy, man. I'm trying to get back to 1,000, trying to get my channel back monetized. This is all me. I'm pretty much by myself. I appreciate LNU for giving me a platform to be able to come in and do shows and expand not just my audience, but their audience first and foremost. So shout out to them. But again, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please go over there and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, definitely once I get once I get back to 1,000 subscribers and I get back monetized, I definitely will be doing more videos and things of that nature. It's hard for me to break news because I'm in Australia, but just doing videos, making time to give my opinion and talk about things other than just while I'm live. So there'll be a lot more content up there, a lot more interactivity that you guys can have with me and my ball knowledge. Pause. and my very accurate eye testing situation. So yeah, make sure you go ahead and do that. Mailbag, how is the food in Australia? It's normal. There's a lot of it's like a melting pot. So you got your Chinatown, you got your Greek town, you got your Turkish town, so you got food from Indonesia. It's similar to the States. You got food from all over the world. There is really no specific food for these people here, unless you're throwing a shrimp on the barbie or something like that. But yeah, that's how the food is here. 1 punt and 2 for 3 on 4th. Right. So we stopped them one time on 4th? Okay. What's unique to eat there? What's McDonald's got on the menu? Monopoly just started here for McDonald's. I'm boycotting McDonald's because every time I go to McDonald's, they mess up my order or the food tastes like ass. The last time I went there, I had a salted caramel frappe that was full of ice. The ice wasn't even crushed. What else? I had a burger that tasted like it needed salt. Yeah, so I don't know what they got at McDonald's. I'm done with McDonald's. One time I had a frappe and all they put in it was milk. They didn't like nothing else. So I was I'm finished with them. But they definitely don't have. So, for example, like Pizza Hut has those like flatbread things. They don't have that on the menu here. So, the States definitely has Arby's. We have the meats. You know what I mean? Do you think Brad will do a deal at the trade deadline? I'm leaning yes. On a good player. He's got to do a deal. He does a deal every year. I think the first year, 2020, was the only time he didn't do a deal because you wanted to use your draft capital because you got a bunch of it, and you also didn't have any players that anybody wanted, so it's not like you could trade anybody away, except for TJ Hawkinson in 2021. Do I think he does a deal? Yes. Arden Key plays for the Tennessee Titans, and the Tennessee Titans fired their head coach today. So, when you look at teams that are struggling, like the Jets, which are the only winless team, you got the Titans who are struggling and they've already fired their coach, and so on and so forth. So I think that there are some players that can be had, and I think that he'll make a trade for somebody good as long as that team is willing to work with us. So, all right. If there are no more mailbag questions, then I shall jump off and try to watch this Bears game because I got to do the NFC report, North report for the Bears. I don't want to. I don't want to, but I'm going to have to. So, once again, I appreciate everybody for coming through, hanging out, stopping by for a drinking conversation. I did have a drink, but it was before the show, so had some ginger ale. All right. Once again, the Motor City Cats R&D back at it. We came to give you stats and not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic, and we are out. Peace.